Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to already the 7th session on experience meditation. And today we will zoom in a bit more on the importance and the power and the function of the intellect, this function within our psyche that decides, that discerns, that analyzes, that recognizes, that ability to discern between what is useful, what is useless, between what is constructive, what is destructive. And this ability, this function, what is called intellect, is nurtured by wisdom. This function of the intellect is nurtured by reflections, deeper reflection. This function of the intellect, this ability to know what to choose, what not to choose, it is nurtured by spiritual wisdom. And so our ability to stay curious, to learn, it nurtures the intellect. And the other thing we will touch more on is how to deepen your meditations. What is like a structure that you can hold on to have longer meditations and to learn to do it for yourself. Because it is very good to listen to meditation commentaries where you are as if guided. It is very useful because it gives you ideas, it gives you an example of what to think and how to think. But ultimately the aim is that you can do it by yourself, for yourself, and that you ultimately can maintain a spiritual consciousness no matter where you are and no matter what you do. And maybe just a few words on some physical preparation for meditation, because many people think, oh, I need something special, but it doesn't really need too much physical or external preparation. It is useful, yes, especially when you're beginning, when you're starting on this journey of exploring meditation, to have a space, a specific space, and that just can be a chair or some corner in a room, if possible, to have a certain space where you every time go back to. That is the place where you meditate. If you have the privilege of having a big house, then maybe you can even dedicate a specific area or a specific room for just your silence practices or your meditations, or the place where you deeply reflect and maybe even take notes or study some spiritual knowledge. But it is not essential, but it is helpful to have a place where you as if go to for your meditation. And some soft, gentle light that can help. And if you want to, some instrumental background music or just silence. It is very useful to not do it on your bed for the obvious reason that you easily fall asleep, of course. And also the vibrations of sleep is something different, a place where you just deeply contemplate and emerge a memory, a state of consciousness that is that transcends the mundane. It is good to have a specific place for that. Also, I mentioned already in the previous session, this specific practice of meditation, we do not necessarily close our eyes. The practice of this meditation has the aim for you to be a master of your inner world, a master of your inner kingdom. And this mastery of your inner kingdom, we would like to have not only when we're sitting down to meditate, but also when you're going about your daily business, which you do with your eyes open and your ears open, and you go about everyday life, but to hold that awareness of the self, the true self, the soul, and to hold that control and that self-control in a natural way whilst we're going about our daily life, to have that state of mind that is calm, that is clear, where there is clarity, where there is a certain peace, even though we do what we do in the world today. So this is why we would like to encourage you and invite to experiment, keeping your eyes open, or you can half close it, but with the aim to be master of the senses, to see, but mind is not pulled there, to be able to hear, but my mind doesn't need to think about what we hear. So these are some tips, some suggestions. Of course, there is a whole world to explore, and this is a little introduction, but you can definitely get started with this. Okay, so now we will go a bit more in depth to grasp and understand the function of the intellect. We'll go over to the board. If we draw a picture of our mind, and our mind, something like this. Ordinarily, what is going on in our mind? How would our mind look if we could take a photograph of this mind? We would probably notice that there are many thoughts, and the thoughts go all over the place if there is no control. The thoughts go in all kinds of directions. We see something, thoughts go there. We hear something, thoughts go there. Some memory pops up, all kinds of thoughts all over the place. Somebody says something, thoughts all over the place. This is a mind that is as if loose, no control, no guiding force, no aim. Whatever comes just goes. Now you can imagine how you feel like with a mind like this. What is your day's experience if your mind is like this? Probably you're exhausted. Mentally, of course, but even physically, ultimately also. Now, the function of the intellect is to guide the mind, to teach the mind. The intellect has the ability to decide and discern what thoughts to have and what thoughts not to have. But for that, the intellect needs to be clear. Now you could say this is like the stage in a theater, and the intellect is the director. And the thoughts are like actors that come on the stage. And the director has to say, this actor, you go backstage. This actor is not your turn. This actor is not needed at all. The director guides and directs what is going on the stage. And on this stage of your mind, where all these thoughts want to come on the stage and they're competing with each other. Some are screaming loudly, some are like bullies. They come again and again and again and again in our mind. The intellect is the director and has to put order to this. But if the intellect is also unconscious, if the intellect has no accurate information, if the intellect is lazy or dull, then how can the intellect create order in the mind? And so the intellect is very essential for the rule of the inner kingdom. And whatever happens in our mind, that is how we feel. That is what our mood is like. That is how we react and respond to things, depending on the state of our mind. But it is the intellect that needs to guide. And so, a situation where there is a bit more order, a thought comes in the mind. Say, for example, but I want chocolate. Then the intellect, if the intellect has wisdom, if the intellect has accurate information, the intellect can say, well, chocolate is not very sensible and healthy. Why don't we take an apple instead? And the intellect can encourage this thought to be put into action through the body. But if the intellect is weak, if the intellect doesn't have sufficient discerning power, thought comes, I want chocolate, and this thought becomes stronger and stronger, I want chocolate, I want chocolate. The intellect, if there is no power, then this thought, I want chocolate, is put into practice. Go and get a whole bag full of chocolate and eat. And then the taste of chocolate, eating of chocolate, that action and the sense experiences form an impression, a memory in the subconscious. Chocolate. I like chocolate, nice chocolate. I ate so much chocolate. And then this reinforces again the thought, I want chocolate. Intellect is bypassed, action is performed, more chocolate, a deeper impression in the subconscious. And so then, again, the mind gets bombarded, I want chocolate, I want chocolate. And the weaker the intellect, the less the intellect can interfere. The aim is for the intellect to say yes to useful thoughts and to say no to useless or negative thoughts or thoughts that are just not healthy, not empowering. Now, meditation is the process where we consciously use the intellect to create spiritual thoughts in our mind. And our mind then becomes something like this. In our mind, there is the awareness of the self as a spiritual being, a soul. And during the process of meditation, we fill our mind with this awareness of the self as a being of consciousness. And the intellect guides the mind to have thoughts that nurtures this spiritual awareness, this spiritual identity. and the intellect protects the mind against thoughts that pop up from unpleasant or useless impressions in the subconscious. They want to come up, intellect say, halt. Not now, I'm busy. Or some sense experiences. I see something, hear something, something does want to create a thought here. The intellect said, not now, I'm busy. Doesn't fight with the thoughts, but just let them go and returns to the thoughts that nurture spiritual self-awareness. This is the function of the intellect. So good luck on your journey to empower the function, the ability of the intellect to discern and decide. Allowing for the mind to settle down, and to remind ourselves that a cluttered mind is a useless mind. A mind without guidance and direction leads to complication and problems and even destruction. And therefore it is useful to have an intellect that holds the big picture, that holds the awareness of the physical and the non-physical, the temporary and the timeless. An intellect that has wisdom and clarity of who is the real self and what am I not. Of what is life and what it is not. And just applying this to the self and reminding myself of my existence at this non-physical and timeless level. The real self is an immortal, imperishable, timeless, living light, the soul, imperishable consciousness, and using the intellect to see the truth and the reality of this. And to choose thoughts that nurture this. The soul is like a visitor, an observer, a player of this game of human life. And we play this game when we are master of our physical senses, but also when we are master of our mind. And just for a few moments, hold this awareness. And if you want to use a visual image in your mind, then use the image of a star. An eternal, innately divine, spiritual being. This is the real self. A being of peace. A being of benevolence.